Yes! Welcome back! I hope I didn't spike and clip the mic there, but welcome back to Tour Talk number 4, episode 3 in the Canada Chronicles. Ooh, there's a nice hashtag, Canada Chronicles. Nice, Canada Chronicles. Right, you can tell I live alone. So, we're looking at Canada Tour number 3, numero 3. And this is the end of Canada for us, and ultimately of the band. Because Colin made a smart-ass comment to the singer that he didn't take quite as well as he should have, and Colin got fired. Here's a learning lesson for you. It's all in this episode, so stay tuned. Like and subscribe to the video, please, if you are new to the channel, so you can stay up to date with this and keep getting all these nice little bits of informational tidbits of knowledge of my mistakes so you don't make them, and then you can have a better, more illustrious career, as it were. So, yes, subscribe if you haven't, and join the Drum Nerd family. Great bunch of guys and gals here from all over. We got Sensei Sushi in Poland. We got Pianiste Trieste out in, I think, Montreal, Canada. We got some good people down here in England, Sam and Dari, and I think there's even one or two out in South Korea, but I haven't actually communicated. But I like it because I feel like we're all starting to communicate as a nice little family unit here, and I feel really close to these people, and I like that. I like that, and I want to make more close connections. So join. It's a great place. Join. And it's not a cult, so I'm not going to make you drink the punch. Don't worry. But there we go. So Canada Tour numero 3. This seems like it was more of a vanity project, trying to grasp some little bit of hope that we kind of had slip out of our hands in the second one there. As I said about having True North Records come out, they were close to signing us, and then they didn't because it wasn't marketable in their opinion, even though the songs were there. So again, weigh this up. You might have fantastic songs, but if you don't look right or have a package that you can sell, they'll pass, even though the music's there, which is strange because we are in the music industry, not the how fashionable can you look dress industry. But these are the fickle natures of conglomerate businesses, I guess, really, and that's what this is, just with a different twist. So bearing that in mind. So this last one was a bit, almost, again, hindsight, shouldn't have done, really. Should have retired on top, as it were. This was very much one where we booked it in, we tried to go back, we returned to some of those venues, we reached out to those people again, we tried to get labels in, it was less responsive. This was another CMW, so we were at least fortunate enough to have that. And, we were getting to Heathrow Airport early in the morning. One of the guys in the band thought he forgot his passport, so that already instantaneously started the entire tour off with a massive stress ball of, oh my god, if you can't come out, you're a main BV and you're the lead guitarist, we're going to be totally up doo-doo's creek without any paddle, As it turns out, he did have his passport, but the point is, it was already off to a rocky start, and that was pretty much a premonition of how it was going to continue. And we rented a car. We were driving down to do one of the gigs. As we're driving, we see our hubcap going across with us. It was almost like a Chevy Chase Christmas movie. It was just, you couldn't make it up. It was that was going alongside us on the highway. So that rental car was something that we were totally messed up with, because now we had to cover the cost of a replacement hubcap. We had to stop, pull over, check that the wheel wasn't too loose. Everything was fine, but again, more things unraveling as it goes. We didn't have a hotel to stay in. Well, The two guys did, and this is where you start to see the cracks and the divides and the slight arrogance in the entire situation. They rented themselves a hotel room, and this was all funded off our back, so we couldn't necessarily all afford it. These two that could, you would think in a nice egalitarian-based, democratic, functioning band, just word to the wise, you would think if two of the members can afford a hotel room each and the other two can't, you would just let them crash in the hotel room. But no. That wasn't acceptable because we're the singers and we're the songwriters, and if they're watching this, I love you guys, but that was an absolute Richard move on your part. It wasn't right. And what happened is one of the guys ended up literally couch surfing at random people's houses across the city, and I ended up couch surfing onto my buddy's couch, who was luckily living in Toronto at the time. But the point I'm making is, for the sake of nothing, just keep the band together and don't be arrogant enough to think that you deserve this luxurious hotel room, and if the people that you're with can't provide any money for that you're going to just boot them out and make them sleep on some random stranger's couch halfway across the city. Come on. That again, bit of a Richard move there. So that was that. So that, again, that was another crack being shown of hubcap flying down the thing, down the highway. Potential lost and forgotten passport before we even leave. Then two of them are sleeping in this wonderful hotel room while myself and the other guy were sprawled across the city of Toronto on couches and not getting decent sleep. I mean, I ended up showering in a university bathroom with the pink hand soap. Let's be real here, okay? You haven't lived until you've had a university toilet shower. Yeah, that was a wonderful moment of all this, and that's when you got to realize this is going to get dirty, this is going to get messy, this is going to get low, and it's going to test your patience and resolve on how badly you actually want this, and you can't crumble under that. I mean, you can crumble under that, but you can't if you're trying to pursue something almost greater than yourself and what you actually really, really desire. As it stands, I ended up using that college university bathroom. I pumped a bunch of pink soap into my hands. I took my clothes off. I'm not making this up. Took my clothes off, washed myself with the sink and pink soap, and then rinsed myself off with the sink. And one of those little punch hand dryers where you punch that little button in, and I just kept punching that, and it only goes for about half a minute. I was just punching that and standing underneath it, kind of trying to get all of me in there. You know, and there were uni students, college students. I forget if it was a uni or college, but there were people coming in and going out, and you know, you obviously shower in your boxers at this point because you're just trying to clean the biggest parts. So that was that, and that was depressing. That was grim. That was not an exciting time, considering the previous time we were in Canada, we had a potential big record label signing us. We had done all these gigs. We were all in the hotels. It was all fantastic. We had that and a complete 180 shift over there to the other side. So, again, more cracks in the foundation. And we didn't get as many of the gigs as we wanted to. Some of the people weren't as responsive. It felt like we were burning ourselves out in that scene. It felt like we had kind of... It genuinely did feel like we were possibly overstaying our welcome. Even though this is over the span, these three things, of about 2.5 years, it just felt like we might have been overstaying our welcome. We should have just called it on that second one, because that was the height. And we were all quite testy. We were all quite at each other's throats, reasonably and understandably so, because half of us were across the city at different places. We were I was certainly, I don't know about the other guy, but showering in school bathrooms, and while the other guys are up in these nice hotels, it caused that divide instantaneously, and then that doesn't go away. And so one of the gigs, there's this expectation from these people, or this person, to be perfect behind the drums, quantized beats every section, you know, almost grid-like application, which personally I don't enjoy because that takes out the human element of it. But again, that's a discussion for another time about if it should be quantized and absolutely rigidly imposed, or if it should be a little bit flowing. And that doesn't mean you go up by 100 BPM, but if you drift 2 or 3 above or below the song standard BPM and everybody goes with you, is it really that big of a difference? Or does it allow for some nice little creative energy and vibe to happen? So, throw that in the comment section, what you believe, what you feel. I know what camp I personally stand in. And it was always very much, Colin, you have to practice. You have to practice. Almost to the point of there was suggestion of play to a metronome while we do the gigs. Play to a click while we do the gigs. Not that timing is a problem with me, necessarily, but that it had to be that absolutely rigidly perfect. And so you can appreciate that kind of pressure and where that's coming from. And so there's the expectation for me to practice and practice and practice and be perfect. I put that on myself, and I got that from this individual. So I said, you need to start doing some vocal warm-ups before we do these gigs, because as it stands, you're hitting some flat notes, you're hitting some sharp notes. You would benefit from doing a 10-minute, 15-minute vocal warm-up before we do the gig, so that you can be at your perfect and best self, much like we're trying to be at our perfect and best self. He didn't like that, and this is the problem. He didn't like being told that he might not be as great as he possibly thought he was, and he could improve. He didn't like hearing that, and when nothing was said then, and then we came back to England, and I got a phone call from one of the guys who I had a closer relationship with, and he was the one that had to say, they've given this job to me, but we gotta fire you now because you're not gelling with the band. So that was it. I was out. That was game over, and it felt like an absolute knife in the back, because I had worked so hard with Graham to fund and figure out and establish and create and build these 3 tours of Canada, reach out to these labels, try and push their stuff, really think about it, their music, really tried to push all their stuff, and then I make a comment of, you need to practice more because you're not as good as you seem to think you are, and you can improve, and that was it. My head was on the chop block and I was gone. So again, word to the wise, you need to decide this when it happens. Are you going to be in the position to stand up for what you believe, your moralities, and do what I was doing there and say that and risk being fired? Or are you going to keep your mouth shut and just let it happen? And you need to be okay to do both, or either or, but just stand by your decision that you make. Because if you don't make it and then you get inherently disenfranchised in a sense, not maybe disenfranchised, but you get really, really angry and upset and unmotivated through all of that, then you need to know that you have to live through that because you've made your own decision to not say something. But if you say something, you need to live with the decision and the outcome that you might be sacked. As it stands, everything happens for a reason, and I'm absolutely where I am wanting to be now in terms of bands and what's happening. And that would never have happened had I not have been fired, let go, removed from that band. And so it hurt and it stung, but it was a blessing in disguise, and I'm glad that I said it. I'd sooner say that and be fired than have to not say that and deal with that kind of behavior continuously. So it was good to be pulled out from that in a sense. But there you go. That is the final tour. Just things to be in a conscious mindset about is don't overstay your welcome. And, if the band is touring and everybody's staying in different places, you might want to take a step back and really assess the situation and see where you're going here, because that might be something that is the foundational cracks of the breakdown of the entire unit. Don't wash yourself in college toilets. It's not the best. That pink soap is very drying. It sucks the moisture out of your body, and then you get crusty, dry, itchy, gross skin. And stand up for what you believe. Don't be upset by saying that somebody's not as good as they might be thinking they are. If they expect that from you, they need to do that as well. This is not a hypocritical kind of exchange, in my opinion. So stand by your morals and agree to live by the decisions that you make and the consequences that then follow. So there we go. That was that tour. That's Canada, all wrapped up in a bow and packaged for you. Hopefully you can take some of these things that I'm telling you, some mistakes I made, and hopefully you can learn from that and benefit it. Obviously, COVID does not allow for touring. When this all goes away, hopefully some of these things can help educate and inform. But let me know what you think. Let me know how things are going. I want to start a chat. And hopefully if you are not subscribed and you've watched this, you do subscribe, and we can get a conversation and build a relationship up like that, much like Pianiste and Sensei and Dari and Sam and these people in the community. Because it is a good bunch of people who genuinely seem to be looking out for each other, and it's good to have these conversations. It's at this time as well, when everybody's so distant and disconnected, it's good to have this common thread that brings us together and allows us to communicate with people globally with similar interests, but with also very different interests, no doubt, and help develop some friendships and some nice sense of community so we don't feel all completely alone and isolated in this bizarre time. So that's all I have for this one. Thank you for watching, and keep your stick on the ice.